when you're doing engineering, you're like, I'll have to become a software engineer. Okay,
Generally,
how are we getting this
right.
data? So it's very important to understand the requirement gathering part. Because what
The
happens in the real time is you might be certified with a number of certifications.
Welcome to the Data Talk with DOERS episode, the podcast that delves deep into the world of data science, data engineering, and data analytics. In this episode, we have a very special guest who is an accomplished data professional with a wealth of experience across multiple domains. Our guest today is none other than Pooja Jain, a senior data engineer at Quantify. She is a result oriented individual with over 4 years of experience in data engineering, analysis, and modeling. She has worked in leading organizations in banking, healthcare, sales, and e commerce domain and have consistently delivered outstanding results in each of these fields. But that's not all. Our guest is also part of the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program for 2022, a highly prestigious program that recognizes outstanding talent and supports creators in growing their online presence. She has also been acknowledged by the Global AI Hub for her contribution to these fields, and her insights and perspectives are highly sought after by experts and enthusiasts alike. Welcome to the Data Talk with Doers, Pooja. I'm honored to have you as my guest for today.
Thank you so much, Nima. So it's really a pleasure being talking about data with you. So I've seen the previous podcasts, and it's really my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Nice to hear that, Pooja. So, can you start by explaining your background and what made you to choose this field, data engineering?
Sure. Thank you so much. So I would start from I'll begin from my career since my college days. Okay, so I started my BTech in computer science and engineering, and it was more towards programming that those days. I would say somewhere around 2013. Okay, so those days were more about understanding programming, building web applications, doing the front ends and the back ends more. But the good part was that I got few opportunities where there were cloud related workshops. There were exposure towards Python programming. You can say a bit of data analytics, where you do basics of data cleaning or build up data models. And they are just 2 days workshops where you actually do not understand everything, but you get a little bit of exposure exploring the various opportunities that you might get in the market. Okay, when those opportunities came in front of me and I was just exploring, in those 2 days I did not understand much, frankly, but I got to know, okay, there is something known as cloud computing. There is another new Python programming language that has been into market these days, which is in demand, obviously. And I was just skipping out of those C++ and Java related programmings. So that was the time when I realized, okay, there is something towards data that can be done apart from just building applications. And that is what involved my interest towards data more instead of just building these applications. And my goal actually drifted. When you're doing engineering, you're like, I'll have to become a software engineer. Generally, when you start with your CS background. Okay, but my interest towards data drifted, and I was like, no, I don't think I want to become a software engineer. I want to do something crazy with data. And that is where I started exploring Python and SQL. So these are the most common skills that you would need even if you're a data analyst, data scientist, data engineer, or any data professional or a data enthusiast, I would say. So that is what brought me here somewhere. Like, that's how my beginning was.
I could totally relate to it because even I started the whole engineering program in terms of pursuing becoming a software engineer, and later on I moved into it becoming a data scientist. So I could totally relate. What are some of the most critical skills that aspiring data engineers should have, and how can they develop them? Like in a brief, could you explain?
Okay, so I would say that when I started, right, my exposure was like, I did a postgraduate diploma in data science and engineering. Okay, and at that time, the most in demand skills or the skills that you are actually taught are related towards programming, towards analytical skills. That is like, you have to understand the outliers, you have to understand the basics of data cleaning, you have to do the exploratory data analysis, build up the models, right? And when I was exploring this phase of data science that we actually call, right, building up those models, doing cleaning, gathering insights, then maybe building a visualization out of it to do some business, discussions, so that you can actually take some decisions out of it. So that is when I was actually, what was thought provoking for me was that, okay, how are we getting this data, right? And that is how I started my career into data engineering. So when I began, what the skills that I knew were, I was proficient in programming language, I was knowing databases well, and I had some basic idea about the data science toolkit, you can say. Okay. And then when exploring the big data part was, I would say, equally challenging and equally important. Because if you understand the big data concepts, the Hadoop concepts, or if you understand how Spark framework works and all those things, that is after which you expect, okay, now I should explore something regarding cloud technologies. Okay, so when we actually start with exploring the critical skills, we definitely prioritize proficiency in the programming languages, databases, big data tech stack, as I mentioned, Hive, Spark, and all those concepts. But we also tend to, underestimate the soft skills, the side of the soft skills, where we talk about how do we communicate, how do you focus on your business acumen, how do you discuss various opportunities, how do you also do that team bonding with data analysts, data scientists, and other teammates as well. So that is also very important. And when we talk about the basics, which are very important, is the system design aspects, the operating system aspects, I would say. So understanding that is equally important, because when you work into the data engineering domain, let's say for example, if you're working with any cluster, so to understand the space, the flexibility, the scalability options, speed. So when we talk about big data, we talk about 5 V's. So they are somewhere evolving with these kind of terminologies that we have been studying in our computer science background, which actually helps us a lot. So when we say, right, college background is just nothing, it's upon us how we take, basically.
You mentioned, right, you have the, in terms of data engineering, you will talk to several teams like data analyst, you talk to data science teams. So how do you collaborate with other members and in order to ensure that your data engineering projects meets your demands and progress?
Okay, so I think for me, collaboration is more when you work into a project, right? We get opportunities to know people. Now, when you work into a similar project, we know, okay, these people would require data. But do we really know how do they require the data? For example, they might require an Excel file, and I can build a data into a database and give it to them. That might be of no use to it, right? So it's very important to understand the requirement gathering part, the project phase, the initial phase of the discovery, I would say the design phase, the requirement gatherings. If these things are done together as a team instead of an individual, then eventually the outcome would be something that they will find it relevant to use. So it's very important to keep each one of them into loops when you're initially beginning your project. When we start with exploring, you can say, what is the data model that we are going to build? Okay, what is the outcome, where we are going to store the data? Or you can say, how are we going to actually distribute the data sets? Are we really going to build data lakes, or would data marts be more efficient for them to use? So these are various aspects that should be taken care. If we do that building, project planning, and the scoping very nicely, it will definitely help the other teammates or the other teams to use those outcomes and maybe build insights that can help the stakeholders.
Yeah, that makes sense, Pooja. So, as a professional yourself, I'm sure you would have worked on several projects. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have faced in your career, and how have you overcome them?
Okay, so one thing I would say is that when you work into any data project, there'll be time when there'll be a lot of clashes. There could be an architect who would say this can be done this way. There could be another engineer, senior engineer, who could say this could be done another way, right? That is where it is very important to stay on the same page. Obviously, there will be conflicts with the opinions that different folks would have, but eventually the outcome is basically to have same category, like have the same pace. There are times when I have faced challenges that managing big data or taking care of the data quality part, because data quality is one of the most important aspects. If there is any end user who has to use it to build any model or do some kind of analysis, or if we talk in terms of banking domain, because I have been getting exposure to banking domain a lot, so I know how data security and privacy concerns haunt a lot. Or you can say data governance is something which is now actually being prioritized, I would say, which is being taken up a lot these days. So these are various like I would say challenges, irrespective of what technical tools or advancements you are getting into.
So, how do you manage a large scale data projects, and what strategies you use to ensure, like, you obviously in a team you have several people, like you'll be there around with your junior data engineers, then you'll have your architects along with you. So how do you strategize, like for example, you can speak about an example project that you've gone through.
So if I talk about large data scale projects, right, it is very important, because from my previous experiences, one thing I have got very clearly is to be sure of the goals that you want to actually achieve. Because if you work with I would say a large project that actually has huge volume of data and has a lot of modules, then it is very, very difficult to stay in pace with the requirement and with the advancements that you're trying to make. And that is the time when you need to realize that you have to be, like, you have to stick at one place. You cannot just, keep up taking the demands and keep up fulfilling their requirements. And that is where it becomes very important to understand how you are planning the project, how you are prioritizing the tasks. I would say managing the risk is one of the most crucial aspect, which we actually tend to underestimate a lot, but should be taken care. And then obviously when I am talking about doing so many advancements, taking care of the documentations, doing the initial testings and the final testings very well. These are a lot of, I would say, critical aspects that should be taken care when handling any large scale data project, I would say.
So, Pooja, you would have noticed that data science have been a huge competitive field, but now I see a shift that people are moving to data science to data engineering. So, what do you think about it? Like, is it going to be the same, or is there going to be another industry coming?
Yes, so that is something I personally have felt, and I've seen that market, drifting completely apart. So 2021 and the 2022 era was completely about data science. There was very limited scope to data engineering, and people were willing to move into those data science jobs. Even people with 10 years of experience having no clue about data science wanted to switch, which is now changing towards data engineering. So I would say that when we are into any technical domain or even a non-technical domain, challenges that we basically face are more about upskilling and more about the exposure that you can get. So let's say if there's someone with 10 years of experience into the technical domain, so that person would be well versed with what is system design, how do you deal with the projects. On the soft skills part, if I'm talking how to deal with the projects, how to deal with various teams, how to handle the risks that you can accumulate. So there are a lot of things that an experienced person would know, that we as initial data engineers maybe can learn from them. But for them, what they would need to understand or what they would need to upskill with is the fundamentals. They would need to understand what is the scale and how are we scaling up along with so much of data. So the tech stack is very important to understand, and it is very huge. You cannot know everything at one time. So prioritizing the skill set and accordingly understanding each and every use case, which would definitely help if you get chance to explore or build portfolios or take up some data challenges, because nowadays it's very trending and it's prioritized a lot. If you can build your own data portfolio, you can do some data challenges or build your own small capstone projects. This can help you explore variety of opportunities. There are times when you just do data. If I talk about myself, I started with data analytics. Okay, and I got opportunity to do basic EDA, and that is what got craving inside me. Okay, should I try visualization also? And Tableau's free student version used to give that option. So that is how I started. So it's not like cloud is paid, like it's not just that if cloud is paid you cannot get exposure. If there are various paid tools, there are a lot of various free open source tools these days, various open source technologies that can be actually leveraged, which can help you build a data project or a data portfolio that will you can say help you switch, because no one has a person doing a technical managerial role with no expertise into this field might definitely face challenges. But if that person gets experience of this sort, gets experience of the technical advancements, they might not know how to write a for loop, but they must understand the data concepts, the business requirements, how and what technologies where to use, right? That would definitely help any person to move into any data profession they want to move, not specific to data engineering, I would say.
So, what advice do you give to another aspirants who come from different field? Do they need domain knowledge, or is it something that you have already mentioned, like building a portfolio? All that will help in exploring your data knowledge. So, what other advice would you suggest to the people who are coming from a different industry, a non tech background?
So one thing, you come from any industry, which is common, is your understanding level, the way you communicate, the way you transfer your knowledge, right? Which is very easy. And if you're into data profession, communication is one of the most I would say underestimated skill, but one of the most important skill on the same side, right? So that actually helps. If you have exposure to any domain, let's say you're from a healthcare domain, but you have that understanding of data, so all you need to build up is the fundamentals of data engineering. Let's say you need to know how to query, let's say you need to know how to use the programming concepts into a cloud, into the cloud services that you want to use, or maybe utilize the big data frameworks on top of cloud. So it's not about I would say it's not just about the domains, it's even about how you understand, because I have been working into healthcare domain also and banking domain also. So what is common within that is data. If you're able to understand the data, if you're able to understand what is the business use case, what is the demand, I can say. So if you understand the demand well, and if you know, okay, these are the set of technologies, the fundamental tools that you want to use, then it is very easy. And one thing that can help here a lot is collaboration. And we have been on LinkedIn, of course, you know that very well, that LinkedIn is one of the best, or the one of the vast platforms that has helped a lot of people collaborate, because there are times when you might not find people of the same pace who are actually willing to upskill, but you're not getting someone who can definitely guide you. So getting a right mentor, having proper collaboration is equally important, and definitely it helps, like it has helped me a lot. So it definitely helps to keep on collaborating and keep on exploring various people's thoughts. So today I know when we work from home, you might not be updated with everything, but if you're on LinkedIn and if you're following the right set of people, doing the right set of networking, you will get the latest trends, the latest updates, along with the articles or the any opportunities that you explore. So this is very important, and this can help a person to shift from one domain to another domain very easily, because if you talk, you learn more.
So I like the way how you mentioned a mentor is really required when you have to move from a different background to another background. So I did not come from a place where I had mentors, so it was literally tough for me because I had to trial and test everything. I failed sometimes, I had success sometimes. So it's essential for all of us to have a mentor so that it's easy for have a better career path.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I see a lot of stuff that you write on LinkedIn, Pooja. So I'm always curious to know how do you stay up to date with all the trends and developments in and around data.
Yeah, so I would say, like, me not being very socially active person apart from LinkedIn. So my sources are to stay updated with the latest blogs that few of the folks actually post. It can be on Medium, it can be on LinkedIn, it can be few of the articles that you follow, or the conferences. So one of the best ways is to stay updated with the latest conferences or events. You might be able to attend a few, you might not be able to attend a few, but reviewing those, understanding what people actually went through, what were the main topics that those events actually held for, that helps you stay relevant in the market at least, because tools and technologies will keep on upgrading and keep on changing with time. Yeah, previously one language was more in demand, today another is more in demand, so that will keep on changing. So what is more important is, along with the tech stack, understanding what is the demand, because now with the increasing demand, or the increasing evolution of AI, there are times when you would have seen a lot of posts around that programming is not extremely much in demand, or it might get deteriorated with time as AI is evolving. But that doesn't mean that you cannot upskill yourself. And it's like, if you use AI within your tools or within your domain, it will help you to scale up rather than scaling down. Instead of thinking AI can snatch my job, use AI in such an efficient manner that it can even make your job even more better. So that is what is very important. And even similarly is how even I stay updated. There are, for me, LinkedIn and few of the Medium blogs and articles and these collaborative events that keep on taking place are sufficient to stay updated, at least if you're working from home. Definitely if going to office or if getting opportunities to meet people, then meetups are one of the best, I would say, options to talk and get more updates.
I see that now you are a senior data engineer at an organization. So how do you what advice do you give for people who are at the entry level? Like what qualities that they should develop so that they can look forward for a promotion or a next level, to go next level much easier?
One genuine advice I would like to give is, do not run behind the trending job market. What people do is, earlier data science was more in demand, they were running behind that. Today data engineering is more in demand, they're running behind that, which is somewhere, it's good for people who actually have interest. It's not like they should not be running behind it, but what's even more important is to understand their interest before moving ahead. Because what happens is, just because the pay is good or the demand is good or it's overhyped sometimes, maybe even people are not that much technically skilled, they just know Python or they just know SQL, but they want to become a data engineer. Why? Because it's more in demand. So that doesn't make sense. What is even more important is to understand the relevance of it. Are you actually looking forward to develop that kind of interest or do some kind of difference in the market? Because when you switch, you also have to adapt to a lot of things. Let's say there's a beginner who has basic programming knowledge. That person has to understand the fundamentals of data even before understanding what is data engineering and data science. They have to understand the problem solving out of it. They have to understand the thought process, how it should go. Then they need to explore, okay, is data analyst, data scientist, machine learning, artificial intelligence, data, and there are so much of data job opportunities. So selecting the right opportunity and then developing the skills is equally important, because few common skills that you can definitely see around is one should know Python, one should know SQL, one should know how to communicate, one should know how to understand the data or the domain that you're working on. So these are the common skills. Now it completely depends, because I have seen folks who have been knowing machine learning and machine learning and deep learning and all those skills very well. Okay, and they have 2 to 3 years of experience. But just because data engineering is now into the marketing trend, they are also adapting themselves to the cloud technologies. So this is a plus for them, because they can use data engineering specifics. That is, on top of cloud, they can use their model building concepts, they can use their skill set. So that is a plus for them. But folks who are just working on cloud, learning the basics of machine learning is difficult for them. So they should actually understand this thing before they explore, I would say, the basic concepts. So if I talk about the basic concepts, or your question that you were saying, that what is the advice that I would like to give, or what are the skills that they should adapt. So the basics are to stay updated with the trending cloud services, to stay updated with Python, SQL, ETL, data warehousing concepts, if I talk specific about data engineering. Also understanding how a solution is driven. Like, it is not just that you built an ETL pipeline and it's running successfully. Doing proper data quality, data testing, doing proper validations, making it secure, ensuring it's scalable. So all these things also play an important role. Understanding the design behind that. So all this is equally important than just having few of the technical skills, I feel.
That it's more educational for me to know that there are several things in a data engineering space, so that we'll all have to take care. And certifications, if you look into certifications, what would you suggest, like which certifications are important or useful, or if at all certifications are useful?
Yeah, so I have seen folks doing certifications just because a job opportunity wants that certification, which is wrong. Because what happens in the real time is, you might be certified with a number of certifications, but you might not have the right skill set, you might not have the right knowledge out of those certifications that you should be having. And what happens is, when you try to interview, you might crack that interview also. I've seen folks who have certifications who have cracked the interviews, but when they actually work on those cloud services or those technical services for which they are actually certified, they do not have sufficient exposure to it. Because certifications is, I feel, if someone is just doing for the sake of certification, it's theoretical knowledge, right? They would just learn up the questions, they would just learn up the services, their use cases. But from my personal experience, especially from the last 3 years, what I have seen is that when I am getting certified, I am making sure I am doing hands-on with that. Because if you get certified, you get opportunity to completely do hands-on. There are free labs that you can explore, there are free opportunities. When you get enrolled to a particular certification, you'll get a lot of study material that you should go through. You should attend hands-on labs, you should get some experience, real-time experience onto the projects. Because if you get that real-time experience and then you get that certification, you will actually add value to your own career. Because when there are a lot of certifications, like AWS Data Specialty Certification, or Google Cloud Professional Data Engineer Certification, Databricks certification is there. So there are I can share a vast list of certifications, but it actually depends on what you are working. So let's say if you're proficient into AWS, then pick that particular cloud service and pick the future that you're seeing. So let's say you want to become a data architect, then the certifications would differ for that person. If someone is into networking, the certifications would again differ for that. So it completely depends on how you are growing, because in trend certifications and the right certification for you are two different things here. So that actually matters. Like, choosing the right certification and then upskilling is what actually helps us grow in this field.
Yeah, great tip actually, Pooja, because not everybody thinks the future and then do the certification, right? So that is a great tip.
Yeah.
And another one thing which a lot of people have in mind is data science and data engineering. It's in terms of coding. Which one do you think is highly? You need to know high. You need to be like code savvy or something like. If you are into data engineering, do you think that we need to be all into a programmer in a sense?
Since I have a bit of exposure on the data science end as well, I would say both are programming heavy. Okay. Whereas being the low code technology is getting introduced, there are times when you don't have to be code heavy, but you have to be program driven. You have to be like the problem solving approach is more important, because now in this era, especially when I know I have an AI tool who can write a code for me to write, maybe create a linked list. That is not challenging, but how are we going to utilize that code? That is more important, right? So if I talk about data science, the programming side is more in terms of building classes, building models, or doing the ed analysis, the basics of Python that we basically talk about. Whereas if I talk in terms of cloud, or if in terms of data engineering, then the concepts of Spark, the concepts of PySpark, or Kafka, or the two frameworks that we use. So those modules are more into picture. So I would say both are programming heavy, but again it depends. If you get cloud services which may not require you to write long pieces of code, yeah, you can actually use those tools, just customize a bit of logic and then reuse it. So it actually depends on what kind of experience we are getting. But yes, like, we cannot underestimate programming here, even if AI is there, because AI can write a piece of code for us, but they cannot build an end-to-end application that you can as it is use. You have to have that skills to set up it, to deploy it, to understand the process, to make it quality driven, testing, validation. So there's a lot of things still, like there's a lot of scope to for making it more AI heavy. So for now, what's important is to be more programmatically driven, and more like problem solving approaches should be more focused, I would say.
I realized this recently because I was looking into how to learn large language model, and I typed in ChatGPT saying that can you build a large LLM model for me, and it gave me a set of codes. But like you said, it's not full, it's not complete. You need to rather write more code and make it more quality driven there. So when you said that, I could literally go to my experience on how to I could use AI in programming. And the final question, Pooja, like you are the first woman guest in my podcast. So, how difficult is it for a woman in a data field, or did you feel that you had to be a little bit more alert in terms of opportunities or something like that? Like, could you share as a woman in data, what are your experiences in getting your hands in this data field?
Yes, so I just posted something similar to this today on LinkedIn to understand viewers' perspective. So even I feel that women in data still aren't given extreme amount of exposure as much they should be. Like, I would say that I've seen folks who are extremely good technically, but just because they are not able to voice out their opinions, they actually do not get chances of growth. You have to be a little extraordinary than the normal team members in order to showcase that yes, you are a woman in data who can actually do something better than the folks around you are doing. And yes, a woman in this field can do it. So this is, I would say, this is really, it's growing. I'm not saying like now things are evolving with time. We are getting better opportunities. There are leaders in data, women leaders in data, like Aishwarya is there, Casey is there. Like, I cannot recall names, but we have a lot of folks. But what's more even important, I feel, is that I still feel that you have to explore more than the normal people. You have to express more than them, you have to do a little extra effort than them in order to showcase your capabilities, that yes, you can drive this world of data also. So this is my experience, but yes, definitely I feel that now, since the market is evolving, I guess this is something coming from beyond, because we haven't been, given that much amount of exposure, or we haven't been voicing out ourselves a lot. So it might take a bit of time, but definitely, like, the woman in tech is actually evolving, and it is people like us, people like you, Nima, who are giving opportunities to people to showcase their skills, to talk about themselves, and maybe like people like me who can actually talk and express, that might help a few folks going ahead.
Actually, I wanted to indulge a lot of women into this podcast because of the one reason that I don't see many people, many women are coming in this field. Like, at least for the in terms of the visual perspective, I don't see many women coming. I see a lot of male doing several achievements, but I wanted to see women also in that perspective. And in my story, I have been a single woman in a team. I don't have female colleagues. Some only one or two colleagues, for to name a few. So, like you said, it's changing. And I saw your post today morning. I mean today evening on the gender diversity also. So, so that is all, Pooja, I have on this podcast and the interviews. And after talking to you, I seem to feel that you are the why person, because you seem to provide a lot of technical skills, advice, but at the same time, you also told the viewers and myself that we need to see why are you doing this certain upskill or any advices that you have provided. So thank you, Pooja. I really enjoy talking to you and the ideology that you have. And I'm sure this will definitely help all the viewers to educate themselves and to see what can they do to become a better data engineer.
It's my pleasure. Like, I'm really glad I could talk about these things. It was really nice talking to you.